Hi, I'm Chris with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida, and today we are going to do a little bit of a what we keep in our work truck for our everyday junk removal jobs. So when it comes to equipment, we always have a hand truck, one of each type of dollies. This one is more ideal because it's a flat surface, and we use it for most pieces because that way we have contact with the furniture piece throughout the whole thing. Whereas this is a rubber cap dolly, which, as you can see, you have a lip here, same thing on both sides. Now this is good because you get an extra 1.5 inches of distance from the floor. So if you had a dresser piece that had legs that stuck down just a little bit, you don't have to worry about it catching the floor as likely as it would for this one, which is just a little bit shorter. But we also use this for the mattress bars, which hook onto the sides, and it sets it up in like a U-shaped motion. So you can slide a mattress in it, or a tabletop, or a glass top, and it just makes it a little bit easier to move, whether you're by yourself or if you have employees. It can be more efficient with employees, and it can make a job doable if you're by yourself. So those are our standard pieces of equipment we always have. We also have a speed pack down here, which is a really big open box that we use to transport a lot of small items to help minimize our trips to the truck. In the actual truck, we always keep a little deodorizer because you know, we go to the dumps and they're not always the cleanest. We got some extra lights in case we have to do anything during the nighttime. We have our extra door hangers, we have zip ties, we have a strap that is designated specifically for sleeper sofas. So the reason you want to use a strap for a sleeper sofa is if, as you're carrying it, it wants to pop out of place, that strap can help hold it in. Most sleeper sofas have a pocket that you can wrap something around the nose of the couch and the actual handle of the bed and keep it from flinging open on you. And then, as you can see kind of throughout, just some miscellaneous equipment. We got our tool bag here, which I'm going to throw up a separate video. Same thing with this. Our moving blankets in the middle we use for sliding furniture on, so we always try to keep a couple of those in there. We have a leaf blower for when the broom isn't cutting it, or if you have a large space. We have our hand truck cover that we use if we have a piece we want to maintain its condition for. That basically acts as a moving blanket would for that one side of the piece, which is making contact with the piece of equipment, which is most likely to scratch it. And then we also will use that if a client asks us to relocate a piece of furniture within their house, and we want to put that on to help protect it from getting any scratches. And then we have our handy air pump, which comes in handy quite often. And then each of these containers, I'm actually going to throw up a different clip of us organizing them and talking about each one. And then this is our emergency tote for basically anything vehicle related. So whether we get a flat tire, we break down, or we just need to do a quick repair, everything that we need is in here. That's pretty much it. So when it's nice and organized, it looks nice and clean. I can even fit somebody right here if I need to. But we're going to go ahead and throw up some clips from the other day of us talking about each one, and talk a little bit more in depth about the type of tools we keep and the type of items that we like to carry with us and why. Now, if this is my emergency tote, as I mentioned before, this is everything I would keep in my truck in the event we broke down or had some sort of mechanical problem. This is my extra set of jumper cables if my battery pack ever died or for some reason whatever, it doesn't work. We do have a spare jumper cables in here, along with some extra little hazardous items, whatever comes in the EverStart other than what I pulled out. A trailer aid. I learned about this on YouTube actually. When you have a tandem axle trailer, let's say one tire is flat, you can drive your trailer up on the other wheel onto here, and it lifts your tire off the ground so you can work on it instead of having to use a jack on the trailer. It makes it a lot easier, and it's about the same size as a jack, about a quarter of the weight. So pretty nifty. I think this was like 65, 70 bucks on Amazon, and I've had to use it 3 times now. Of course, we have the DOT triangles, as I mentioned. We have extra tire plugs, repair kit, knife, extension cord in case I ever need to run my air pump from my truck to my trailer that I tow behind, because the cord normally just won't reach on its own. So I have a plug here, and then I have an adapter I can plug into my cigarette lighter, run the extension cord to it, and plug in my pump. So that comes in handy, and again, doesn't take up a lot of room. We have an additional first aid kit in addition to one that we keep a little bit more on standby, and then just a couple of truck and trailer parts. And then we got the hitch ball lubricant. We have a foldable axle, which I found to be really helpful because it doesn't take up as much room and it still gets the job done without being too heavy and awkward. We got some extra masks in here, paper towels in case we have to do something that requires a spillage. We always keep some extra bags in here for trash, and that's everything we keep in our emergency tote. These are my 2 crates I dedicate for basically miscellaneous stuff. So we usually keep our bags, our gloves, some odds and ends that we don't really use too often. And what I really want to do is keep it down to having like 1 set of contractor bags and then 1 set of household trash bags. The household trash bags we use for when we have clothing that we're going to donate. 1, so if it's in a black bag, people just don't think it's trash. Number 2, because they're a little bit smaller, I think the 13-gallon, even if we fill them up, they still fit in the donation drop-off bins without causing too much of a headache. And they're a little bit easier to tie. But we got our gloves. We can never have too many door stoppers. Gloves, of course, which we don't even need this many. I'm going to take some of them out. We got our forearm straps, which I have only used these once before in my life. And it was on a moving job like 8 years ago. And I've never used them since, but I just figured one day we might need them. And I just keep them in here because they don't take up much room. You never know. What I do use though is my hump strap. So if you guys are not familiar with moving services, a hump strap is a more common item used. It's a 4-inch burlap strap. They come in 10, 12, 15, and 18 foot lengths. And you basically use it in a way of an accessory to carrying furniture in more awkward situations. So I'll throw up some pictures on the screen of some guys using it. But it comes in handy. You can get them on Amazon for like 25, 30 bucks. And then these I haven't had to use yet, but I've had situations right before finally pulling the plug on them where I could have. So this would be in a situation where you have, let's say, a china piece that has really long legs on it and it's too fragile to stick on its side to put it on the hand truck, and the legs are too high up to put it on the dolly on the floor, and you wouldn't be able to tilt it on its side without the legs snapping. Now, if you have somebody with you, of course you can just tilt it, but I used to run solo up until my wife joined me a couple months ago. And I got these because I figured if I ever just needed to get it out to the house to where I don't have to worry about causing floor damage, I can set a leg on each one of these and wheel them out to the front door and then do what I need to do. Because it's junk removal. I don't intentionally want to break anything, but if it does break, I at least want it to happen outside where it's not going to cause any floor damage. So I keep these with me, although I haven't had them use them yet. I'm hoping the day will come and I would just be so happy, because I used to think when I was a mover how awesome these would be for so many pieces, and I never was able to find them. I got these from Harbor Freight. Never would have thought. I always try to keep some extra mattress bags. We use these. I made a couple of videos about this. We use these when we have really nasty mattresses that we don't want to touch, whether there are stains of like heavy urine, feces, blood, or if it's treated bed bugs. It might be treated, but you never know. So we'll throw these over it if it's like a nastier mattress, and we'll just charge a material fee for this, and we just tape it off with said tape, and then we don't have to worry about touching the mattress at all. There's 2 ways you could do it. You could just grab it as is, and if you want to be careful, you can put this on without ever actually having to touch the mattress with your bare skin. So I'll throw up that video on the screen. So I like to keep these in here, and then we'll basically make this more moving related, and then we'll make this for our trash bags. Keep 1 roll of this clean. We'll keep a contractor bag roll, and then we'll use these just real quick when we just need a couple at a time. And then we'll put the gloves back in, and that should be it for back here. When it comes to junk removal, there's really 2 things I look at. Number 1, you have to be able to move the stuff. So that's why I have moving equipment with me, because you want to move stuff without causing damage. It's not just always take a sawzall, cut it up, take a sledgehammer, break it down. No, you can't always do that. You can, I guess. I'm not going to, though. I don't think that's appropriate all the time. So we want to be able to move things efficiently, which is why we have the equipment that we do. And then the second thing is it's junk removal. It's not moving. Moving, typically a little bit more cleaner. Junk removal, you're usually dealing with stuff people don't care about anymore, whether if it's a donatable item or if it's something that has mold on it, or my cats used to pee on the couch for 3 years, I'm finally getting rid of it, or it's been sitting out in the garage and it's just not the cleanest of pieces, whether it has rat feces in it or roaches or whatever the case. So when I look at junk removal, two things: safety and cleanliness, so bags, gloves, masks, and then moving equipment to get the job done. So that's typically what you will see throughout the truck, other than the fact that there's a moving vehicle that pulls a moving vessel that could weigh anywhere up to 8,000 pounds. So I want to make sure I have the appropriate equipment to handle any kind of breakdowns or mechanical problems. So those are the three things that we focus on: vehicles, moving, everything else to protect you from it. We're going to focus on our securements. So a couple things to show you guys if you don't know. These are giant rubber bands. You use them in moving. We use these in the event we have a cabinet with doors on it, and as we're dolling it or hand trucking it through, let's say, an apartment building, for example, or a senior living facility, we don't want the doors to swing open, smack a person, smack a wall, hit a door, cause any damage. So we basically stretch these around those pieces of furniture. This red band here can stretch around a 6-foot dresser with no problem, and it can hold in any drawers, it can hold in any barn swinging doors, if you have glass doors, anything along those sorts. So we always try to keep a handful of these around in case we need to strap down multiple pieces, and we just put them in one of our little husky bags. So I keep a couple of each color because they're for different lengths. This would be good for like a nightstand or a skinny cabinet. The green and blue are for like medium-sized pieces, and then the red, like I said, could fit like a 6-foot dresser. You could stretch it around the band of a couch to give you an idea of how stretchy it is. So that's one thing. And then of course, everyone's favorite elastic bungees. So we will use these bungees mainly for connecting the tarp to the edge of the trailer walls. I have D-rings set up all along the trailer, and it's basically to just help fill in those holes so we don't have to worry about a piece of cardboard or a bag. You know, with the wind getting in, the tarp is there to protect stuff, but it's not perfect. So when the tarp is waving in the wind, sometimes those voids open up and then a bag can slip out, fall onto the public road. We don't want that to happen. So we use bungees to basically tie that down and connect it to the wall as much as possible. We will also use these for strapping down items within the truck bed if that's all we're taking. So I always keep a good amount of these on me, probably more than I really need to realistically, but they come in handy. I actually really like using these carabiner clips. They provide me with just a little bit more self-securement to cure my anxiety, and I don't have to worry about something flying off, because you never know when a bungee's gonna slip out of place or snap. At least this has a little bit extra securement to prevent it from moving around. So I like to buy those in addition to regular bungees. And then of course we have our ratchet straps, which we mainly use for the truck bed. And then on my trailer, I have 8 tracks running vertically throughout the whole trailer, and we will use moving ratchet straps to strap items down or to secure off a load so things aren't flying all around the place, or to strap off a piece of glass so it doesn't go flinging. If you don't know, we don't have a dump trailer because we do majority furniture-based jobs. So we load things by hand and we offload things by hand. So I don't want glass flying around, breaking everywhere, because I'm not going to be pushing a button to just drop it all off. We have to stop by donation places to drop things off. We have to stop by the house if there's something we want to keep for the house, or if we want to bring it to somebody we know who could use that piece. And that's just an easier way for us to do things. So if you had a dump trailer and you didn't have to worry about all that, you wouldn't need E-tracks and you wouldn't need ratchet straps. I think bungees would still come in handy for the tarp, but at least for that matter, you wouldn't really need to worry about that. So I like to keep these in 3 separate bags, and I just know which is which by feel. The one of the ratchet straps is significantly more heavy than the rubber bands. It's also squishy. This can kill somebody. So that's how I know the difference. Before we get to the fun stuff, we gotta go over tools, because everyone asks questions about tools. So I have a firm opinion that if you're not doing demo work, all you really need is a power drill, your standard tool bag of assorted tools that you can just go buy a kit off from Walmart for like 30 bucks. That's all. And even if you don't do demo work, you still will end up using a Sawzall. Maybe you have 15-foot long pieces of wood and you have a 12-foot truck. You would want to cut them in half to get them to fit. If you have to take a swing set that's made out of metal, if you want to sit there and unscrew rusty screws all day, it's going to take a long time, or you could just cut it up with this and then scrap it after. So it comes in handy to have. I always recommend you have extra batteries, which is why it's good to stick to a specific brand. I don't personally care about brands. I don't care if it's Milwaukee, if it's Hyper Tough, if it's DeWalt, if it's the, what's that green and black one, Ryobi? I really don't care. The only reason I really stick with DeWalt is we got a holiday special 3 years ago where it had a drill, 2 powered impact drills, the Sawzall, which I was looking for, and the blower for like 200 bucks. And that's a great deal if you do the math. And then I found this battery on a job. I got the 2 batteries that came with the pack. We got the charger. I found another charger on the job. So it just comes in handy to stick to the same brand because you can use the batteries for that said brand. Otherwise, I don't think it really matters what brand you get. At the end of the day, they break, they get lost, they get stolen. It's all the same. I do think it's good to have a hatchet, especially one that has a hammer point on the opposite side in case, like I said, you need to cut something up and you just need it real quick. These can come in handy. And then get a large assortment of bits, because when you do furniture disassembly, whether you're a mover and junk removal, you're gonna run into a lot of stuff, and sometimes the older pieces have everything with the little square bits. Sometimes you run into the more modern day stuff and you're gonna have a little star. Sometimes you're gonna run into something that has a Phillips, or something that has a flathead, or something that has, hello squirrel. You might get something that's dug in 3 inches down, so you might want a longer bit. And sometimes that longer bit isn't gonna be enough. You're gonna need an even longer bit. So I make sure to have a pretty good chunk of bits. I have an impact drill in case I have something that's a little bit more stubborn to come out. And then I have my regular drill, and then just your standard tools. We have assorted sockets, we have more in here. And then I always, so I don't know if it's just me, but I had the most complicated time ever having these kind of attachments. The ones that go in the drill normally, but to have these different size ones here, and then in addition, get the ones that can fit the different socket pieces. I used to have a lot of trouble with that. So I just went ahead and bought a 3-pack from Walmart for like $6, and now all my problems are solved. So I have a little guy that I can use, and I can use those attachments if it's a bigger one, if I just need to get my hand in a tight spot. And then I have my socket wrench here. There's also a little skinny guy you can use in a really tight place on Amazon. I haven't bought it yet, but I got my eye on it. You got it for different wrenches, wire cutters, pliers, hammer, screwdrivers, in addition to the drill, door stoppers, knives. So I have never had something that I couldn't take apart with just this. So I think this is all you really need here. But that is subject to opinion, of course. This is my Sawzall pack. I don't care about saw blade brands, but I found these to be helpful for the most part. I buy an assortment for metal and wood, and then I usually just have some extra little knickknacks in here, little pry bar, safety goggles. I usually have masks in here, but again, that's everything I've ever really needed, and it all fits in 2 bags. So get what you get, and as you learn, hey, I need this, you go and pick it up.